Howdy everybody, it's your pal Misty. Sit back, relax, and enjoy while I give my review of the movie A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Oh, spoiler alert, there will be tears. Mine, most likely. So, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood is a movie that was actually based off of an article written by this guy. His name's Lloyd in the movie, but his real name is Tom something, and it was for Esquire magazine. So I would say, even if you have seen the movie, but especially if you haven't seen the movie, go read that article, because I want to say it was written. Dang it, y'all know I don't research it, I forget. I want to say it was like late 80s, early 90s, like 88, 89, 90, somewhere around in there when he wrote the article. That could be totally wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was somewhere around there. But this movie was based off of the guy and his interaction with Mr. Rogers that had him write this article, which he didn't want to do because he was known for more scathing, exposés and things like that. And so people were worried when he was assigned to do the article that he may not, do a good job with Mr. Rogers. So this whole movie is based on their interaction and him writing this article. So the article itself made me cry. I mean, I had read it before, but I read it again recently when I heard that they were doing the movie. And it made me cry again. So, definitely go check that out. It's something you can do for free, as long as, well, not for free. I guess you got to have internet access, but you don't got to go to the movie to read the article. So, for those of you who like to read, maybe check it out. It's probably about, I don't know, a 5-10 minute read, something like that, depending on how quick you read. But, so, I love Mr. Rogers. I always have. When I was growing up, there were all these fast moving, loud music, Sesame Street, the Electric Company, and my mama said I didn't watch any of those. But if Mr. Rogers came on, I would come and stand in front of the television. So, as I got older, that didn't really change. I remember going to lunch once with my girlfriend at the time, and I'll never forget, we were at Jason's Deli, and Mr. Rogers came on the TV, and my whole brain was like, and she kept trying to talk to me, and I was like, shh, Mr. Rogers is on. Like, you don't talk when Mr. Rogers is talking. You be quiet, because he's talking. So, I love Mr. Rogers. I'll go back and watch those episodes, and in the fast-paced environment of today, a lot of kids, it's not what they're used to. He took his time. He said what he wanted to say. He thought about what he said before he said it. And he didn't believe in cutting to move a show along. He believed in cutting when the scene was over. So you definitely get that feel and that pace. And so I thought the movie was very well done. It hit a lot of the themes of the article, a lot of the story points of the article. Now, some of them were changed into movie format to make it more of a, continuous storyline, which I totally understand, and respect. And I think the way they did it, it was still plausible as something that Mr. Rogers would do, even if not necessarily something he did do. And actually, some of those moments were the ones that kind of got me. So, you start out with your classic Mr. Rogers opening, and in comes Tom's Hank, doing the opening of the show. And I was like, oh, no, you can't. No, you can't. No, you can't cry in the first 10 seconds, Misty. No. No. You're going to be okay. It's just a movie about Mr. Rogers. So I made it through. It was good. So he starts doing this picture board. So they had Mr. Rogers do a show, even though he never did a show like that, but do a show about Lloyd, his friend, who was Tom, the one who actually wrote it. And so it was good. So then you meet Lloyd and his family, and you hear that he's going to go interview Mr. Rogers. So some of the best scenes and some of the best parts of the movie were parts, like I said, that hit that essence, even though if not exactly the same way. For instance, when the character of Lloyd first meets Mr. Rogers, he's meeting with a boy who has like a He-Man kind of sword, the old, the big plasticky, lights up, makes sounds. And although I didn't say it in the movie, Mr. Rogers wasn't a big fan of that, because one of the problems he saw with TV when his parents first got one was people throwing pies in each other's faces. He felt it was too violent, too unfriendly. I mean, I like TV. I'm not gonna lie. I'll watch him throw a pie in somebody's face. But I get where he was coming from with that. So, in the movie, he tells the boy, you must be strong on the inside to carry that sword. And that comes from the article where he basically relays a story to him, when that's what he said, because the boy wouldn't speak to him at first until he told him that. And Mr. Rogers said it was because people who carry, that type of aggression on the outside sometimes just want to know that they're strong on the inside. So that was good, and that was right up front. And then you meet, you go through and they go to his apartment, they get on the subway, which in this story they did it together, but again, it was really in real life just a story relayed. That one time Mr. Rogers had to get on the subway, and the people on the subway didn't ask for his autograph, didn't, really even say hi to him or anything. They just all started to sing the opening song, It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Oh, don't cry. Oh, we're gonna cry. Dang it. So that scene was really good and almost got me, but I'd seen the previews for that and I had heard that story. I knew it was going to happen. It was good. So there were two scenes that really got me. And one of them was different than what actually happened, but again, like I said, same theory or same thought behind it. So in the movie, you learn that Lloyd's dad wasn't a good dad. He was bad to their mom, which he lost, as a younger child. And so they, try to reconnect or whatever. And he's at his dad's house with his sister and his wife and his child, and Mr. Rogers comes for a visit, as Mr. Rogers probably would. And right before he leaves, he says something to the dad. And then on the way out, he asks, "What did you say?" So, in the article, this was a story that actually happened with a boy with cerebral palsy who had not a good upbringing, and people took advantage of him. And so, well, gee willikers. So the boy was, he was basically taken advantage of because he couldn't say anything because he had cerebral palsy. And so Mr. Rogers asked him to pray for him. So in the movie, what he says is he asked the dad to pray for him. And, your first thought is, why? Why would you say that? Why would you do that? And in the article, it says something to the effect of, how smart it was for him to say that, to make that boy, feel better or whatever. And Mr. Rogers was like, no. He was like, people who go through those ordeals, thank goodness I got some napkins, huh? Oh. Whoops. Hey, everybody. Thanks for sticking through with me. But Mr. Rogers says, no, those people are closer to God. So he wanted them to pray for him. Which is really a powerful way to look at people. So, I'll give you my review, and then I'll tell you the scene that actually broke me, which, I mean, that was my review. I'm going to give you my score. So, of course, I'm giving it a 10. It's a 10. It's all day a 10. Watch it 100 times. It's a good movie with a great message. So, there's one scene, and it talks about it in the article. Oh, you know what? Actually, another one is something that he says or learns, which I think was in the article, but now I don't remember the original storyline of it, like how it happened or where it came from. But he basically says, when dealing with children and things like that, remember that you were a kid once too. And what was that like? And imagine what they're going through. Because as you get to be an adult, you forget that. So also a good message. So, but the most powerful one for me that actually made me cry in the movie, although now I'm crying all the cries. I should have cried them in the movie so I could talk about it regular. But there's a scene where you see him, which is something that he did every night. He would get down on his knees by his bed and he would pray by name for all of the people that needed it or had asked him for it. And so, throughout his career and history of being a person, I've heard this several times, and they do this in the movie, where he ends all those names with 3 little words. And people have told him, and in the article I think it mentions a scenario of this where people were like, I don't know how to pray. He was like, oh, it's super simple. Oh, you only need 3 words. Thank you, God. That's it. That's all you need. If you don't know how to pray, just say thank you, God. For whatever. So, be mindful. Remember you were a child. Pray for people by name. And if you don't know what to say, you can just say that. Thank you, God. That just reminded me of the other scene. This one's going to be a long one because half of it's going to be me crying. But every movie, you've heard me talk about movies who have like that moment that makes it that movie. This one had a few of them. One, when he looks in the stupid picture, and they do that close-up zoom in. It was just like the movie. I was like, oh my God, he's Fred Rogers. He's Mr. Rogers. But the other one in real life happened as a speech that he gave for some award that he had won, which I don't remember what award it was. But he says to take 10 seconds to, thank all the people who loved you into being who you are. So in the movie, there's that moment too. They're in a restaurant together. And it was really well done because he said, take a minute with me to do this. And he said, I can't. And he's like, just do it for me. And so everybody in the restaurant becomes quiet, and there is no sound. And it does this zoom in on Tom Hanks as Mr. Rogers. And just as Mr. Rogers would do, he looked dead into the camera, like he was looking at someone, and just smiled. It was a good scene. It was a good movie. It was emotional for me, I guess. I mean, I laugh about it because it's a great movie. I enjoyed it. I would definitely watch it again. I'd probably cry again, too. Just because, I don't know. I wish more people would see it. I wish more people would hear the message and take home, Mr. Rogers' pro tips. So, yeah, it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. I'll see you real soon.